Every 25 seconds, someone is arrested in the United States simply for possessing drugs for their personal use. Around the country, police make more arrests for drug possession than for any other crime. Over 1.25 million arrests per year.
Corey Ladd is a 27-year-old man that got sentenced to 20 years for half an ounce of weed. No parole, no probation. Every single day in prison for 20 years for half an ounce of weed.
Massive numbers of arrests and aggressive prosecution for simple drug possession is ruining lives and destroying families.
When Corey gets out of prison, Charlie will be about 18 years old. Hi, Corey. I was just talking about how you miss out on the little things of Charlie's life.
I definitely don't think it's fair whatsoever. You know, I wasn't hurting anybody but myself, and I don't believe that I should be taken away from my family for 20 years for it.
All U.S. states and the federal government criminalize possession of illicit drugs for personal use. In more than 40 states, possession of small quantities of drugs can be a felony offense. I met people who are prosecuted for tiny amounts of drugs, all for their personal use. Sometimes single doses, fractions of a gram, even residue in a pipe or an empty baggie.
The sheer numbers of people that we arrest and send to jail for drug convictions is unbelievable.
Stephen is not here with us right now because he's in prison. Stephen have wrestled with a drug problem for some time now. The last time he was arrested, I think it was for like drug paraphernalia. So he went to court and eventually they gave him 5 years.
Stephen was, at one time, he was the provider. His not being there has definitely impacted, you know.
Blacks, whites, people of color, we all use and sell drugs at relatively the same rates. But we enforce our policies in these poor black and brown communities. That's where the arrests occur. That's where the unconstitutional stops occur. That's where most of our law enforcement shootings occur.
Despite equivalent rates of drug use, a black person is 2.5 times more likely than a white person to be arrested for possessing drugs. In some states, that's even higher. In Montana, Vermont, and Iowa, the ratio is 6-1. In Manhattan, a black person is 11 times more likely to be arrested for drug possession than a white person.
My client, she is looking at 20 to life for 0.5 grams of crack cocaine, which probably would be enough to get her high for maybe a day.
A lot of times when the urge and the thoughts came, I used because I've been on it for so many years, like over 30 years, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't know how to stay stopped.
She went to jail in the 80s and the 90s and into the 2000s, and over the course of that time, any changes that have been made in that system haven't stopped her or helped her with her addiction in any way, I think is very telling.
Most people who use drugs never develop dependence, but for those who do, treatment should be available and affordable in the community. You shouldn't have to get arrested to get help. And the truth is, in most jails and prisons, the treatment isn't the kind of treatment they need.
Once you're incarcerated and you're convicted of possessing any drug, for instance, your life really goes downhill.
You start with your driver's license, your job, where you live if you're trying to get into public housing, voting, having custody of your children. The list goes on from there, but those are some of the most immediate social consequences and economic consequences from drug charges in a criminal context.
You can get over an addiction, but you'll never ever get over a conviction. It will follow you for your entire life and prevent you from thriving, from succeeding.
40 years after the war on drugs was declared, rates of drug use have not gone down. Instead, countless people have been funneled into the criminal justice system at enormous cost to them, their families, and the U.S. taxpayer.
These are people that could be very high, well-functioning members of society. They can be mothers and fathers. They can have great jobs out in the world and contribute, but instead they're just sitting in jail because nobody was willing to give them the time of day and help them even when they're asking for it.
In my opinion, it is not justice. The definition of insanity is to keep doing something over and over again and expect a different result. So maybe we should try something different.
It is time to decriminalize the personal use and possession of all drugs. This means changing federal and state law. The human toll of criminalization is out of control.
Charlie's going to be 5 in January. Corey went to jail in December before she was even born. So I think he's served his time. And I think it's time for him to come home and start moving forward and be the dad that he can be.